This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're fortunate tonight to have two of my favorite guys in Alabama politics, Baron Coleman and Jack Campbell, two Montgomeryans who are well known in the River region and even become more so in the last year. They've got a very, very popular radio show, News and Views, which shows It is on the air at 93.1 FM every day from 9 to 12. Baron, Jack, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve.
I love to talk politics with these boys. They know a lot about Alabama politics, even though Baron's a young man. For his age, he knows as much about Alabama politics as anybody else saw. Now, Jack and I have been around it, so by osmosis, we learned something.
Yeah, we go way back,
We
Steve.
go way back. Jack has been around this stuff a long time, and Baron has a acumen for politics I don't know if I've seen anybody in his age group. You're not even 35, are you, Baron?
35.
35. Baron is a practicing lawyer here in Montgomery, too, but we just going to kind of chat about Alabama politics, and I go on this show about once a month, every second Thursday of every month, and we talk politics, and I really enjoy their radio show, and I think a lot of people in the River region do. Does 93.1 does it go all over the River region, doesn't it?
It does.
It goes basically Greenville to Clanton, little of this side of Selma to about Auburn.
Mm-hmm. But most of your listeners in the River region, aren't they?
We're very strong in
so, yeah.
Elmore, Nautaga, and Montgomery. Very strong.
Yeah, that's where most of our viewers are.
Yeah.
On this television show, our viewers are in the River region primarily, and of course Pike County and Coffee and Wiregrass cover us, but it's in Dothan. But our biggest viewing audience is the River region. We've been doing this show for 7 years now.
Yeah, when you said that before the show, I couldn't believe it's been that long.
Y'all were on about a year ago when we first started your radio show, weren't you?
We started July 14th of 2014.
When were y'all on here last? Do you remember?
Probably August or September.
That's right after that, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, y'all also have a consulting firm that y'all consult on campaigns, don't you?
We do. Spot On Strategies Group.
When will folks start? That's what I want to kind of talk about. It's kind of early, but when do you think folks will start gearing up for 2018?
About 6 months ago.
I think so, too.
I think some of them already run.
I'm already hearing from people statewide.
Yeah.
You know, they're not even subtle about it.
Right.
They will tell me, I'm running for Attorney General, or I'm running for Governor. And, you know, I want to be on your television show. I want you to write about me in your column. I want to do this and that. You know, and I say, well, I'm going to write about the governor's race because I am going to start doing that. As I told you on the show, I'm going to have the first preliminary horse race in October. And every 6 months leading up to 2018, I'm going to start with 15 potential candidates, people I've heard, you know, for 2018.
I think if you start with 15, you're going to be leaving a few people out.
I think you may be right.
I mean, I could see conceivably 20 or 25 people starting out thinking I have a legitimate shot to be governor. It'll start thinning out. I think probably mid-2016 into 2017, you'll start to see maybe 12 or so take the lead.
I wish I had brought my preliminary list. I've got 15 on that list, and tell me who. Let me see. You're young and you can count better than me and Jack. let me tell you who. Let's see if we can count them.
All right.
I've got right now 3 mayors. I've got Stimson in Mobile, Tommy Battle in Huntsville, and I've got I still got Walt Maddox over in Tuscaloosa. I'm hearing Vaughn Stewart from Madison too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm hearing there's a mayor over there that wants to run.
Running as a Democrat or Republican?
I guess they all have to run as a Republican almost, I guess.
Win.
And that's the problem with Maddox. I mean, I'm not sure where I'm going to stack him up. See, I'm going to start him, and I'm going to do a backwards, probably take 2 or 3 weeks of columns. I'm going to say, here's the 15th horse in the Derby. Here's 14, here's 13, here's 12, all the way up to where they're guessing who's number 1.
Right.
You know, who have I got ranked, who I think, as they start out the gate, I'm going to rank them going, in my view, their chances of winning. I've got those 4 mayors. I've got 2 state senators I think may pull the trigger. I think Arthur O. and Dale Marsh may be candidates. I think if Hubbard survives an indictment or a felony conviction, he may be in the race. And so I've got all the constitutional officers who can't run for re-election, beginning with John McMillan, Kay Ivey, Luther Strange, Young Boozer, not necessarily that have the same credibility or possibility. I've got, that's 8 or 10. I've named 4 mayors, I've named 4 constitutional officers, I've named 2 state senators. I'm naming 2, let me give you 3 also-rans. Roy Moore, Tim James, and Bradley Byrne. Now how many have I named?
13. Yeah.
All right, so I've almost named my people then.
Right.
I've almost named all my people.
I think Roy Moore's probably a guarantee to run. Luther Strange, I think you'd be foolish
think
to
you're
think
right.
he's not running.
Somebody suggested that Kay Ivey might.
I named her.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's one of the 4 constitutional.
Right.
In Luther, John McMillan, and
Young Boozer has an interesting name. I mean, Young Boozer, but I don't know if anyone can identify what he does.
I think he almost like he's too ambivalent.
Right.
If you ask him if he's running,
Yeah. It's kind of how he campaigned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
He's smart. He's very smart.
brilliant guy, and he's perfect in that job. I don't think Young wants to run for governor. That's my read on it.
Yeah.
I don't think he fathoms what it takes to run for governor.
I think they all deep down want to be governor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of them want to run for governor. A couple of them may.
If I had to bet right now, I would bet Young Boozer would not be a candidate for governor.
Yeah.
If I had made me bet.
Well, who I'd like to see is I'd like to see John McMillan get in there. I'd like to see Luther Strange get in there. I think you need some of these big names to draw attention to the fact that there's a race going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tim James would be foolish to sit it out.
I think he's in it.
I think he should be.
I think he's in. Now John McMillan is interesting. I had him sitting right there on the show and pretty much asked him. I said, John, a lot of people are already promoting you for 2018 governor's race. And he gave me an answer that almost was the same as Young Boozer's. Well, I really hadn't thought much about it. And I really got the feeling he hadn't.
Well, if he said it, it's probably true.
Yeah, I got the feeling he really had not thought about running for governor. Now, John's got a little age. I'm getting up there, but John's probably 73 years old.
I think he is 73.
Yeah, I mean, that's not...
Not
Well,
spring
and
chicken territory.
It's like I shouldn't have said this on television on Channel 8 the night of election. Stephanie or somebody hit me with it real quickly, and I know, and probably said, well, do you think Governor Bentley will run for something different? I said, well, he's got 4 years as governor, and he's 73 years old. Not many more shopping days at Christmas. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's resonated through the Channel 8 lower of my answer to that. I said, well, I don't see Bentley running for anything else. He got nowhere to go.
Right.
He can't run for governor, and Shelby's not quitting.
Sure.
So they all think they want to run for Shelby's seat, but he ain't quitting.
I think there's one more person you need to throw in that list who I think is a legitimate candidate, and from all signals, she'll probably run as Martha Roby.
I was
I'm
just
hearing
thinking
that.
the same thing.
I'm
Ben.
hearing that. The reason why she may do that, from what I'm hearing, and I've mentioned this to y'all on your radio show, if the numbers remain the same, we're going to lose a seat. We're losing a congressional seat, and that's the one that goes, from what I can tell.
Yep.
Because you look at the geographics, and you can almost move Dothan in with Mobile, and you move this up into the third.
Yep.
And I'm hearing that. That's what, are y'all hearing the same thing?
Yeah, I am. It's a more natural fit to remove her seat than even Mike Rogers' seat, because you need somebody on East Alabama, and he can pick up part of Montgomery easily. He's already in part of Montgomery. He has, 10, 12 years of seniority on him?
Although,
yeah.
I'll say this, I'm not a Montgomeryan, but a lot of folks in East Montgomery are not satisfied with his particular interest in their district, that he has not been that responsive.
I think if he had a viable, well-funded candidate, he would lose.
And he'd lose in Montgomery.
Yeah.
I like Mike Fine serving in that situation,
Sure.
but people out in East Montgomery don't know he's their congressman.
Right.
And he don't try to get to know him. Is that what y'all pick
Yeah,
up there?
he seems to be a little standoffish.
For that area. Now,
Yeah.
he may probably goes home to Anniston and does everything up there in Anniston, but I think if anybody shows a regional favoritism to a congressional district, that he does.
And he doesn't have a population center. I mean, there's no population center that's half his district or more.
And he gets no media.
Right.
Like if Spencer Backus or now Gary Palmer come home and they go television on CBS on Channel 6 in Birmingham, they get a little name ID.
Right. So I think Martha would probably end her career if she chose not to run for governor. And she's still young. She's in her 30s. I think it would probably suit her well to go ahead and gear up for running for governor in 2018. I'm hearing that she's doing just that.
Let me tell you what, speculation among some people who I talk to is, if you know Shelby, he ain't quitting.
Mm-hmm.
He's dying with his boots on. He's either going to be going out by the pine ballot or the ballot box or pine box, the old saying. So he ain't quitting.
Right.
I'm hearing people say that Sessions may not go one more time.
Well, he's got 6 more years. Didn't he just get it in 14?
He did. But what I'm saying is that does give her an alternative. If you really look at
she could hold off 2020, which would be about time her seat gets dissolved.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested to me today that Jeff Sessions might be a good vice presidential candidate.
He brings
because
nothing
he's
to the table.
to the right of whom will probably be nominated.
The only thing about that is, Jack, under the electoral college system, we don't matter.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't
have
matter.
9?
Well, not just that. We only have 9 elected votes, but the South's going to vote Republican, and Mickey Mouse is the nominee.
Right.
So if you put Sessions on a ticket, what are you doing for the ticket?
Well, you're bringing anti-immigration for one thing. You're bringing some hardline issues that a more mainstream Republican may not be as fervent about as Jeff is.
Well, that's true about that. You can't have more conservative. You couldn't find a more strident conservative. But I'm just looking at the way the electoral college is made up. Only 10 states matter.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, we do have a say in the primary with this. I like this SEC primary thing. Do y'all not? Yeah, what do y'all think about that?
I like it. I wish they hadn't tied all the state offices to it. I wish we'd have kept the state primaries in June. I understand the expense.
They did do that.
Yeah.
So the people who are running for election next year running the primary in March.
They'll be running March 1st.
Well, they got to be running right now then.
We're already in the window.
That for raise money.
Yep.
Well, Twinkle's up for president of the PSC next year.
Yeah.
Anybody else up? Judgeships.
There'll be judges.
Be some judgeships.
There'll be some county commissioners. There'll be sheriffs don't. They all ran last time. But, so we're in that window. I wish they hadn't done that. The second thing is, even though we're in the SEC primary or whatever they're calling the SEC primary, Alabama still doesn't really matter. It's not as if Hillary Clinton's going to be campaigning in Alabama or some of the Jeb Bush isn't coming to Alabama. I wouldn't think they may do an event here, sort of a stopover event for an hour or so. They're not going to spend a lot of time on the ground. They're not coming to your coffee shop anytime soon. Because going back to what you said earlier, we still only have 9 electoral votes. I mean, and delegates are different, but they're still accorded by population, and we just don't have the population to compete with Texas and Louisiana and Georgia at the same time.
Who all's in that thing?
Who all's in what?
The SEC primary.
It's Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, I believe.
Oh, Texas is in there.
Yeah,
Texas
I
is the
think
same.
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's other places
They're
that
gonna spend time in Texas.
well, they'll spend their time in these other states. Yeah.
Well, the same as if they were not tied together.
Right.
It's just like they have the same day because they're gonna say, well, I can get 50 electoral votes and.
What it may do is drive up the cost of TV buys, because they may spend a little money on television here, even if not willing to spend the precious time here.
Mm-hmm.
They may spend some time on television, so your news stations are going to appreciate it because it'll run up the cost of the TV buys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a sitting judge, you're going to love it because it's going to be that much more expensive for someone to run against you.
Right.
So-
Well, that's good.
I think our primary process needs to be overhauled, but I've often thought, how would you do it? We give we give too much weight to Iowa.
No question.
People in Iowa and Des Moines and Cedar Rapids and some of the larger cities will meet a candidate 3 and 4 times.
I know.
Or his people will come to your door and canvass. It's, and they're a little bitty, state out of the whole primary process. The Iowa caucus, which, it's kind of weird how it all works.
Nobody goes to those anyway.
Right.
Do you? Who do you think comes here next year? Huckabee comes.
Huckabee would come. Santorum came last year. Gingrich came for.
I think half of them come.
Yeah, they might come,
Perry.
but they'll do an event.
Yeah. Rick Perry will come.
It's not like some of these states like Iowa or New Hampshire where they're going to every diner, every coffee shop, every corner store.
Well, wouldn't it be advantageous if somebody said, I'm coming to Alabama trying to get those votes? I mean, if they actually spend some time here, would it pay off?
It might. I mean, if they were the only one coming to Alabama, yeah. I mean, it may help them, but.
I wonder how Huckabee will do because he carried this
I know.
8 years ago, and then
Santorum.
here, which just kind of floored me. But then by that time, Newt had kind of imploded.
I voted for Santorum.
I voted for Newt.
Santorum, to show you how they target a certain zip code or something, you know where he went to when he came, that little northwest Alabama corridor, which is the most religious area.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, that's where he came. He came up Florence and up in
How
there.
about that?
When
He did an event in Montgomery.
Did he?
Right at the end.
When he came, well, no, what I'm saying, this last year,
Oh, okay.
when he came, he had an event in northwest Alabama,
Right.
which tells you what they're going for the religious right.
Yeah. Presidential race is still a wreck.
It really is. I mean, some people run it. I mean, it's just amazing. Let's get back to that governor's race in 2018, which I think is more interesting, which is early, but it's really not. If you think about when the year turns around, we're really only 2 years away from that primary, which is election.
Yeah.
Win the Republican primary. So you're saying you think James, tell me who you think's in it right now.
I think Tim James is definitely in.
Uh-huh.
I think Bradley Byrne is definitely out.
He likes Congress.
Well, he should. He's doing a great job up
He
there.
is doing a good job.
He is. He's getting great media. He'll be there as long as he wants to stay. So he'd be foolish to come back and run for governor. I think Martha Roby, right now, I would say she is in. And I think Roy Moore is in. And I think those three you can say.
Luther's in.
Luther. Okay, there's your four that are definitely in.
You don't think McMillan's made his mind up yet? I don't think he has.
I don't.
think
I'd like to
Luther-
see him in.
People that work for him or are close to him say they really do believe he has not made up his mind yet.
I could tell from the conversation, John's such an honest guy, that when he sat there and we all are sitting, he has not made it. And I don't believe Young has. I don't think Young has made his mind up yet.
I'd be surprised if Young ran.
I would too. I really do. I'm going to put him in my first 15
Yeah.
as a possible horse because he's state treasurer and got nowhere else to go.
I think Arthur Orr is probably definitely in the Senate. I think he's the only one in the Senate that you could say right now is probably definitely in. I like the mayors you've mentioned, but I don't know that Sandy necessarily is in.
He doesn't go. I had a conversation with him. I could tell you he ain't going.
Tommy Battle's in.
Battle's in.
Tommy Battle is in.
Battle's in.
And Walt Maddox.
I don't think he goes. I think he's a real Democrat. He wants to run as a Democrat. I don't think he wants to try to say he's a Republican.
Right. But I think right now those are probably the only ones you can say for sure are in. I don't think anyone from the House is viable.
No.
Now here's the thing we're not thinking of. Some probate judge somewhere in some county catches fire. Some circuit judge somewhere catches fire. It's not unheard of.
Now let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to start with 15 and go backwards, and all those people are in there. I'm going to rank them. Do you know I've got number one? I've
You gonna
reserved.
spoil the surprise tonight?
I've reserved the 15th. The number one spot is for somebody nobody's heard of right now.
Okay.
An unknown. I call him the Fob James
Okay.
factor. A guy who's got his own money, who's got sold his business, and he decides he wants to be governor. He's 50 years old. I'm not saying it's a Jimmy Rain, but someone like that who is sitting there on a lot of personal money, and that's the historical favorite.
Right.
I don't know if you know that or not. It has happened throughout Alabama history. The person elected governor is not a sitting person who 3 years out anybody thought was going to win. And I'll take you back to 46. Big Jim Folsom was not even thought of as a possible candidate in 46. He won the 46 governor's race. Gordon Persons was on the Public Service Commission in 50. Nobody dared. Well, he was a secondary office holder. Big Jim came back in 54. 58, John Patterson was Attorney General. So that's not out of the woods. 62, Wallace was a circuit judge in Barber County. His wife, Lurleen, in 66 was a housewife. In 70, Wallace came back again, but in 74, Wallace won again in 74. Take all the Wallace stuff out. In 78, there's Fob James, beats the 3 Bs. 82, Wallace comes back again, but in 86, Braddock was Attorney General, so I'll take that back. But who won in 90? Who won the race in 90?
86 was
Guy Hunt.
Hunt won. There's some
He
talking
beat Hubbard.
There's your unknown
Yeah.
probate judge.
Yeah.
Right.
Then who followed Little Jim Fob? He didn't win. Fob came back and won in 94, but 98, Riley was a congressman.
Right.
And then Bentley was a backbench legislator.
Right.
So being a statewide office holder is not the route.
That's what I was saying. You know, a probate judge, a county, I mean, some county-wide elected official could catch fire, have a bunch of money.
I think this time they got to have some personal money.
Yeah.
That they're willing to spend. I think that's the key. That's why a businessman, like Fob James is the perfect example. I see a scenario where someone could win that race as an unknown. So I'm reserving place one for that. I'm going to say the number one spot, when all's said and done, is Mr. Unknown.
Well, I'll say this: it's going to cost $8 million to get out of that primary because it's going to be so wide.
Who can raise that in the primary?
Well, if you're trying to raise it, you're not going to win. You got to have a little bit at home.
Now that's why there's one guy that I'm saying would be in there before Orr. I think Dale Marsh is a candidate before Orr is.
We've kind of heard that in the last few weeks.
I think Dale Marsh could be a very viable candidate.
Yeah.
If I understand, I don't know if this shouldn't be sound tough. He sold his business for a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very successful business. I heard, upwards of $40 million.
He could put $8 million in and not miss it.
Well, I'm saying he might could. And let me tell you something about that, too. I wrote a column about this, and they both picked at me about it, or more than Marsh. Marsh agreed with me. I said I had never seen many of those senators when they first came in 2010. I hadn't paid much attention to them. And I went down there one day, and I watched them. I says, there's several of them, but two of them look like little movie stars. And they're just like movie stars. They're short. They're almost like midgets, And I said, Arthur Orr and Dale Marsh are about that tall, but they look, that's the way Tom Cruise and all those movie stars,
Right.
Every movie star who's handsome,
But they look like $1 million.
they're midgets.
Yeah.
If you look at them perfectly, Cruise is about that tall.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't taller than that. De Niro's that tall. I mean, they're like, and I said, I wrote a column that these two guys are like movie stars, but they're midgets.
Yeah.
They look like little short, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because television doesn't know.
Yeah, television doesn't know.
You
Jeff
know-
Sessions is short.
Exactly. And it works the same way. I'm tall, but nobody knows I'm tall from my picture.
Right.
I mean, when I walk into a town in Jasper or something, where I've been in the paper for 15 years, they're like, God, you're a lot taller than I thought you were. You can't tell from somebody's picture how tall they are or anything.
Well, I think that mattered when you were campaigning in the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
But now that everything's
It
on
doesn't
TV
matter.
and you're raising millions of dollars, I don't think it matters if you're 5'6" or 6'6".
They don't know how tall you are.
Right.
They have
What
no
was the
idea.
first campaign for governor that you were involved in?
I was campaigning with George Wallace when I was 10 years old on my bicycle in Troy. I had Wallace bumper stickers on my bicycle. And then that was the first one. Then I campaigned for Brewer in 70. And
That's interesting.
I campaigned for Hugh Mara for lieutenant governor because Hugh and I had become friends when I was page in the Senate. I was a page in the Senate, and Hugh was a wealthy, wealthy businessman from Birmingham. His family was one of the first U.S. Steel families and that sort of thing. And he had 3 different cars. He drove a Mercedes one day, a Bentley one day, down here. And he would give me $20 to give me Birmingham News and send me to keep the change. This is like I'm 10 years old, 12 or 15. Anyway, so Hugh was going to run for lieutenant governor, and Beasley beat him for lieutenant governor in 70. So I was going to campaign for Brewer, but Hugh was going to pay me. So I'm like a freshman in Alabama. I said, well, I'd rather get paid in campaign, be a part of a lieutenant governor's campaign than be involved with
What was the most you ever spent on a race?
in a House race. I'd say
You know,
20,000?
Steve's kind of
20,000.
tight.
All right.
20,000.
To give you an idea,
Yeah.
there were a handful of them, maybe 8 or 10 of them, that spent over $500,000 this year
Now, one thing that
to
could
win
be
a legislative seat.
one thing that could be done though, when I was still in the House, if one of the special interest groups, AEA or Alpha, were for you, they might do a lot of stuff that they didn't have to report.
Right.
They would like do all your polling. They'd send their field men in to put your signs up. So you never knew, and you'd have to report that in kind. There was some loop. I mean, I asked them, I said, do I have to report all these guys coming in and putting up signs for me?
Mm-hmm.
They'd bring the signs with them. I mean, and I'm thinking, well, this is a pretty nice little deal here. They're putting signs all over my district, and I didn't put,
But you had last time, Mike Hubbard spent $1 million to retain his seat. Jack Williams spent over $500,000. Tom Whiteley spent over $500,000. The price has gone up, and it's going to weed, particularly with the governor's race, it's going to weed a lot of those people out.
Well, another thing, too, is what's gravitating in politics in Alabama may have always been this way. But you ask any special interest group where they're going to spend their money, they're going to spend in legislative races.
Yeah.
They're not going to, a lot of them ain't going to play in the governor's race. You know, Alpha doesn't play much in the governor's race.
Yeah. Why would you?
No.
They play in Senate races.
We have a constitutionally weak governor. They
And
can't
it's
do
showing
much.
up this time
It
too.
is.
It is showing up, and I'm going to write about that. That it's just so dramatically different that Bentley's almost irrelevant in the whole process. That's been the story of the year to me. Is I guess because I grew up in an era when George Wallace was governor, he controlled the legislature, and I'm thinking, this guy is just tough. Well, you know what? Riley was kind of irrelevant, but he had a reason. He was a Republican governor with a Democratic legislature
Right.
who wanted him to fail. But you've got a Republican governor, a popular Republican governor, sitting there. His bills didn't even get out of committee.
No. A lot of them didn't get a sponsor.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
It's a very toxic atmosphere up here.
That story is the story of the year to me, is how irrelevant Bentley has been with his tax proposal and anything he wanted to do. And with him being a Republican governor, a Republican legislature, and a popular one. I mean, that almost is a story.
I think he made a strategic error when he said, I'm going to raise taxes to the tune of $500 million. And he didn't say what it was, you know. And then you had Holtzclaw that put up the billboard saying, you know, we're not going to have taxes in Alabama, basically over my dead body. And then you had Dell saying, okay, y'all don't want taxes, we're going to do gaming, we're going to do it with the Indians and the other sites. And then Mike Hubbard comes out with a plan where it's only the Indians and we'll raise some taxes. So nobody agrees with anybody.
Right.
And people in the House are scared to death to buck Mike Hubbard, even though I think this session you're starting to see chinks in the armor. And I think people think Del Marsh probably had the most sensible plan.
I think so too. I think if you asked, and I actually was talking to on a radio show in Atmore today, to a guy named Lou Vickery has a show I talk on the phone with, and he said he'd seen a poll that showed it was almost 3-1. If you ask an Alabamian, would you rather vote for a lottery, or you have your or vote for a tax? Taxes still aren't that popular.
No.
No.
Yeah, even a cigarette tax.
We did a poll, and
It said
what
the
did
same
it say,
thing.
Baron,
It was
about
2 to 1.
taxes?
It was
Two-
that's maybe he was
2-1.
quoting y'all's poll.
Yeah.
He could have been quoting y'all's poll.
It was 2-1
That's
against-
what he was telling me.
Yeah. It was overwhelming. It really was.
I sense that from my column that people really they're acceptable or amenable to voting for that
The
lottery.
last time we had a vote it was before the Tennessee lottery. It was before the 30 casinos in Mississippi. They just had a few. It's a different world. It's 16 years later. It's a different world.
It's a whole different world. Fellas, our time's up. I hate to tell y'all that. We had the best time talking. I love these two guys. Our guests tonight has been Baron Coleman and Jack Campbell, two of the top popular radio hosts in the city of Montgomery River region. Hope you listen to their radio show every day, Monday through Wednesday and Friday, from 9 to 12, News and Views on 93.1 FM. We thank them for being on our show, and we thank you viewers for watching Alabama Politics. Hope you tune in again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.